Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Kellen King. I'm one of the percussion faculty members here at Georgia State University. Today we're going to be talking about the GMEA All-State Audition Etudes for concert band auditions, specifically the mallet, timpani, and snare drum etudes. We're going to talk about each one separately, talk about any of the potential challenges you may or may not be having with each etude, and some strategies to overcome those. Alright, so first thing, looking at the beginning of this, we're at mezzo forte and we have our open. And then we crescendo to forte, making sure that you have room to grow, so not starting the etude too loud. Moving forward, if you look at measure 11, we want to make sure we're counting that correctly. So if we're counting for the sake of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for eighth notes, we have 1, 3, 5 as our main notes, and we have 4 and 5, okay? In 6/8, I generally tend to count my inner 16th notes as ands instead of having an odd number of e-us, because it doesn't really quite pan out. So I'm typically thinking of a full 6/8 measure as like a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. So going by that system, measure 11, I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 6 and. Okay, so just making sure, when you have tricky rhythms like that, make sure you have a counting system to know how you're going to go about counting that in your head while you're playing. In terms of roughs or drags, we want to make sure we're getting 2 clear strokes out of the double. Typically, when we're looking at measures 29 and 30, I'm keeping all these in the right hand because I don't really see a need to alternate these, and I want them to all be very consistent. Especially when we get down to that piano. That's really tricky, so what you're going to have to do there is maybe squeeze a little bit more in your front fulcrum so you can get those clear doubles there. Similarly, when we get to 31, we have our flams here, making sure that grace note's really low, making sure that we don't pop our flams, so you got to make sure that grace note's low and then you throw it down a little bit quicker. Okay, and I keep these all in the right hand. If you're left-handed, maybe keep them on the left hand. You can certainly alternate them, but it's more difficult to keep them consistent when we're going versus it's a little bit easier to go and then you get to your buzz roll. If you're having issues with your buzz rolls, make sure you're not using wrist. Almost everything we do in percussion requires wrist or lots of it. Buzz rolls are one of the exceptions. We want to make sure we're really just using our arms or our wrists are flat. If we use our wrists, we're going to hear those attacks really clearly, and we want a very smooth sound. So I'm holding out with my front 3 fingers, my front fulcrum, using my arm to initiate stroke. If something's off and it doesn't quite sound right, maybe your non-dominant hand needs to come up a little bit. So here's what it sounds like without. So all I did there was just increase the power of my left hand there. If there's still an issue, maybe you're not squeezing enough, maybe you're squeezing too much in your fulcrum. Here's too much. Really pressing, and all I hear is here's not enough. It's kind of somewhere in between a double stroke roll and a multiple bounce roll. So we want to make sure we find that right amount where it sounds like a sustained pitch. Looking at measure 39, that's a little bit of a tricky rhythm there, especially getting into measure 40, so making sure that we're really feeling how that's supposed to go. And especially measure 40 can be a little weird because it's very upbeat, and we don't really have a downbeat to lock onto. So measure 40, I'm just thinking of it as 1 and 6 and 1. The second to last measure, I would just treat that as all right hand. All right, thinking about that rhythm, and then being able to throw in the grace note underneath. Or if you're left-handed and it's easier that way, you would do it all left-handed. Whichever way is best for you, whichever sounds most consistent. If alternated works better for you, that's fantastic. It all comes down to what's more consistent for you and what you feel most comfortable with. So if it's alternating, if it's left-hand lead, if it's right-hand lead, that's great. It just needs to all sound very consistent and controlled. I hope this was helpful for all of you. Please feel free to reach out if you have any further questions about these etudes. Other than that, good luck and enjoy practicing.